And we're live. Hi, everyone. Everyone, Marmaduke fan here. Today I'm joined by channel regular Carl's Amateur Hour and Matt of the Matriarchy. You're the co-creator of the Expositioner, correct?
Oh, yes, Matt? Yeah. Mic cutting out pretty bad here.
I heard you cut out for the first bit and then you came back in. Say something.
Okay. I'm going to close some programs. Give me just.
All right, there is a bit of cut out. Fantastic. Well, I'll just let you know that Matt is currently funding a comic with Ideal Comics for Vox Populi, issue 1 of the Expositioner. I've linked it in the description below. And we're going to be just doing some free drawing time. And then later, I think we're all going to draw the Expositioner together. And Matt, you've been doing some, even though you're the writer, you've been doing some drawing for the project. You doodled me. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, I did a fan art piece. Am I still cutting out pretty bad, or is it
I think
better?
It's getting better.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm clearing out my programs, so it damn well ought to be. Okay, let me see here. But yeah, I'm a meager cartoonist, but I did do the other day did a fan art piece of Marmaduke, holding a Red Bull there, because I know what a big fan of Red Bull you are.
Right. Especially when it gets mailed to me by Loot Anime with Ninja's face on it.
So
yeah. So hopefully, the more supporters you get, you might be like spending like a few days or a few weeks just drawing a bunch of doodles to send to people.
Well, yeah, I actually I did, but we do have a level on the campaign, which is a postcard level, and I'm basically going to do quick sketches on postcards and mail them to people through the U.S. posts there. So for $1, you can get yourself a very own piece of crappy writer art that you can hang on your fridge, or give to your dog, or use to ward off evil spirits. Whatever you feel like.
Nice. So something you talked about I think we had a stream a while ago where we talked a little bit about the Expositioner, but it's kind of bringing a little bit of your interest in like film noir, detective style characters. I mean, it's even in his name, the Expositioner. Could you give people like the basic pitch of what it is?
Yeah. So the X was created as a kind of an homage, as a loving send up to the classic detective story Married to, the classic American style detective story, Married to the superhero archetype. And it was something that Chris Lawton and myself came up with. One of the first projects that we came up with when we crafted our shared universe that is the Ideal Comics universe. And the original story was Chris's, but we worked together on the character. But the name was my fault. Chris had it in there as a placeholder, and I said, I think it says everything you need to know about the character, so let's run with that. And so that was kind of that story. Because I think it kind of cries back to that old school masked mystery man kind of idea that I'm a big fan of. So yeah, that was a big part of that. But the original story was about, which will eventually be told someday, but it was about how X was working for a security consulting firm in our universe, and eventually leaves that line of work because he's basically framed for a crime he didn't commit, and then he has to go on the lam. And then we pick up a year or so afterwards when he's on the run from the cops while still doing the superhero.
When I've been on the Matriarchy, we've talked a little bit about like the morality that's inherent to storytelling.
Yeah.
What are like some of your, like, what would you call them, like idols or like big brothers and big sisters in writing that you look to?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Chuck Dixon is a big influence for me. The fact that I've never read a Chuck Dixon story that wasn't good, right? So, and I want to say, there are great Dixon scripts and there are good Dixon scripts, right? There's never any that aren't at least good. There are some that are just superlative, just excellent. There are some that are merely good, but I can't say that for a lot of other writers. I also take a lot of inspiration from Roy Thomas, and his deep love of American comics, his deep passion for it, and how scholarly he took it. And that, so a lot of our world building really harkens back to his stuff from the Invaders, his stuff from 70s Namor, the late 60s, his stuff from the All-Star Squadron for DC, and a lot of that, especially our Golden Age, owes a lot to All-Star Squadron. And X is an early 2000s hero, but it's set within our big universe, our big sandbox. And so that's a big one. Danny O'Neill and his the realistic crime stuff from the 70s and 80s is a big influence in X and the way I take a look at X. And with this story, I'm especially borrowing a lot from Alan Grant's run in Detective Comics, where there was that seamless marriage between the paranormal and the supernatural and the science fiction worlds with Batman's gritty street level detection. There's a lot of that is a big factor.
Carl, you've been a channel regular for a while. I know you've been following the Expositioner. Could you tell us a little about your comic Holgrave and maybe like how you found out about the Expositioner?
Oh, sure. As far as Holgrave is concerned, it did start out as a passion project. It started out as a project I made instead of my passion projects. Originally, I had a completely different idea for a comic I wanted to make, and then I realized, wait a second, I'm not competent enough to make this. So instead, I decided to create the comic that would eventually become Holgrave, because I figured I might as well make a comic to start off with for practice.
Yeah.
But eventually, Holgrave became a passion project in of itself, a mashup of a lot of my favorite things. Old pulp magazine adventure story covers, like Frank Frazetta style paintings, Popeye strips, Hayao Miyazaki movies. Holgrave is literally just a lot of my favorite things thrown into a blender. As for the Expositioner, I first learned about it, I think, on one of the Matriarchy live streams, actually.
Nice.
I'm sort of a regular viewer of those, as well as a regular guest on those. So the Expositioner, it's a very interesting concept to me because it reminds me a lot of one of my favorite comic book characters, that being the Question. I personally love Steve Ditko, and I don't know, there's something about Steve Ditko's style of storytelling and character design that speaks to me. I also really like, even if it's a bit nutty at times, I really like the way his objectivism influences his earlier work, especially. Like before, I like Mr. A, but Mr. A's, as fun as it is more of a work of propaganda than a work of art. So it's a lot of his pre-Mr. A stuff and the way his objectivism influences that speaks to me as an artist and how I should let my worldview influence things. Not too preachy or too propagandistic, but you can still see the through line even in things like Spider-Man.
Have you read much of The Question? Ditko created the character. Did he bring much of his objectivism into that?
Basically, yes. The Question, while he is passed off as an anti-hero, is in many ways like more idealistic than a lot of other heroes, because he believes quite simply right is right, wrong is wrong, wrong should always be punished to like the harshest degree, right should always be rewarded. So the Question himself, while he's not extremely brutal or as like hard in the paint as Mr. A, he's pretty close when it comes to punishing criminals that he discovers. There's also a heavy there's also a heavy importance in those old like Question stories on the concept of absolute truth, like discovering the truth, finding the truth. It's an important aspect of the Question.
I've really got to sit down and read the Question. Go ahead.
His objectivism influenced the Question in very interesting ways. Like, you could argue even things like his entire motif, the Question, finding out things, discovering new things. It is very much in line with Ditko's worldview in an interesting way. And the Expositioner in some interesting way kind of reminds me of that. It's a character who's like constantly seeking the truth and whatnot. Sorry if I'm not very good at explaining things. Typically,
that's okay.
Typically, I have a script when I want to explain something.
I like a more laid back stream. So, Matt, for the Exposition, I'm trying to think where I was going. Oh yeah, so kind of like Will Eisner for the Spirit. I'd kind of describe that style as like it had maybe like the noirish aspect where you'd have the femme fatales, and you'd have kind of a blue collar beat cop in a mask for his hero. Like have you drawn much from Will Eisner at all in your comic writing, or even just like kind of like read him and imbued some of that?
Well, I came to Eisner much later in terms of that. By the time I discovered Eisner, I think my tastes in writing had pretty much already been set. So I wouldn't say that he'd be like a seminal influence in my style. The one thing that sets Eisner away from a lot of his compatriots at the time too was that the Spirit had a really lovely, just this great blend of severity and whimsy that was missing from a lot of other stuff. And I definitely appreciate that, but I wouldn't say that X is particularly whimsical. By the time we meet him, he's already pretty broken in a lot of ways, and especially in Vox Populi, he doesn't have a lot of hope for himself. His mission is in totally pouring into for the sake of others. And that's not where we're going to leave the character, but that is the phase in life he is in when we see him here. So I don't necessarily think that there's definitely, I mean, it comes from a similar well, I suppose, of American literature. That wouldn't be, I don't think, one of the predominant cores, so to speak.
I gotcha. The other thing, it kind of like things remind me of things. Doesn't necessarily mean that and they have anything to do with each other, but I always just like to connect from one thing to another. Like Josh Howard had his oh great, I lost it. What was Josh Howard's comic with T. Burton Fraud? Yeah, where he shows you kind of the character at his lowest moment and then takes you back and shows you how he got to that point. Like it's a deconstructed superhero who he then proceeds to reconstruct. I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting that there's a lot of that maybe in the air in indie comics is hero characters like down in the dumps, down on their luck, and then having to build it back up again.
Yeah. Well, I think honestly part of that, and I think you and I have talked about this before, but I really think that one of the things that we're seeing in comics is the 30-year swing back from Watchmen, right?
Yeah.
And I think that Watchmen, I believe, and I think I'm in a real minority here, But I believe that Watchmen was predominantly misunderstood by everybody. I know that makes me sound like a real, elitist or whatever, but when you come down to looking at what the story implies by its end, I think that there's a lot more. It's not just a deconstruction, right? The denouement is a reconstruction of the archetypes that they continue regardless of the characters moving on from there. And it wasn't a middle finger to superhero comics. It was an extrapolation of that idea outside of its given paradigm.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people, especially look at the '90s and look at the early 2000s and look at the weird. I don't know how to describe it. This
grim
death metal cycle that DC Comics specifically keeps going through, where they instill a little hope into the characters and then kill them, kill it, and they keep, instead of building a thing for the future, they let a certain set of writers that seem to believe in hope write for a little while, and then by the time the characters have any stability, then they bring a new team in to just wreck everything.
Right.
And the stories are all about the personal struggles of the characters instead of being about the detective cases or about any of that stuff. It's all about this internal turmoil. And I think that's one of the reasons that you have. I think Josh Howard is taking the inverse of that. It's a broken man rebuilding himself. And with what we're doing with Expositioner, it's a broken man ignoring his brokenness for the sake of the little guy. And he has his own story, but he's not interested in his story. He's interested in other people's stories. He's trying to help them find the theme at the end of their story. And that's part of what we're trying to work on with that. So,
have you ever looked into it's maybe like a different angle on noir, but I've been reading Case Closed, and that's almost like the comedic side of noir, where he has like the hard-boiled detectives, he has like the dramatic revelations, but he'll also do kind of like these seedy stories in like a kid's detective comic. Have you ever checked out Case Closed?
I have not.
I'd really recommend it.
Writer?
Gosh, it's Gosho Aoyama, and like I think what helps it is he's clearly like the biggest mystery nerd who's ever walked the face of the planet. He knows every single British, French, and Japanese mystery author ever, and he's constantly doing allusions to them throughout it. So it's kind of like it's the king of all mystery manga, I think.
I noticed that a lot of the most interesting mangaka always tend to be Westaboos to some degree.
Yeah. That's a really good point, actually. I've noticed
I think a lot of that.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the interesting stories aren't ones where we're stuck in ourselves, right? The ones where we're looking for those tie-ins, those threads that weave them together, right? I mean, like take a look at like Doug Garrett's Lone Star. I mean, not Lone Star, Lone Wolf. With Lone Wolf, one of the really interesting things about it is that it's such a in a lot of ways it's not a love story, but there's an affection for the discovery of culture that's within it. So anybody who loves a mystery and who loves the discovery of things, and I mean a mystery in the classic sense, the hidden thing that's revealed. Anybody who's in that position can really sink their teeth into it, and I think that's one of the things that is so appealing about that character. I think it's the same thing when you look at people that are that really appreciate the Americans that appreciate anime and Easterners that appreciate American comics. It's because they're finding those common threads that bring those ideas together in a way that opens what you know into what you don't know, and leads to something greater between those things.
Something human that transcends just your culture. Though, what's interesting is if you draw from your culture, you add maybe a unique perspective on it. Like if you're trapped only in your culture, then you're limited in who you can speak to. But if you draw from your culture, it's sort of like you add, I don't know, flavor or insight from your people to that more universal story.
Well, I think that's absolutely right, especially when you think about the fact, like if you're drawing from your culture, then you're telling it to an audience who isn't part of your culture, right? So you get to incorporate those things that are you into it in a way that you have to explain it, right? You can't just leave it there. But people that only write to their culture, and I think you see this a lot with a lot of modern comic writers, that they just assume all of the unspoken things are known by their audience because they're not writing for an audience, they're writing for their own catharsis or whatever their motive is. And with it, they're not explaining, beyond that. And I think that's part of what's going on with it.
And then it also becomes trapped in like a particular time, because if all it is like, I think pop culture can add like a little levity to something, it gives it a bit more of flavor of our world. But if all it is pop culture, or the last election, then it gets in Twitter world, it's old news by that week. Like we're in an age where things seem like old news a week after they happen, let alone months after they happen or years after they happen.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair.
Armpits, how do they work?
Well, the inside part tucks under.
Have you given thought to like is issue 2 of the Expositioner already written, or will it be is it in draft mode?
It's in a draft, okay. And basically what we have is I've got the overall plot laid out already, and all of the players are selected and how they're going to relate to it. But we're one of the ways that we're doing this is we're doing kind of a modified Marvel style, because all of the people involved are storytellers in their own right. So we wanted to have something that had everybody's flavor to it. So rather than working from a full script, I'm actually dialoguing it as we're telling the story. So that's one of the things that's a little different with the way we're doing it. But I know at the end, I know who's responsible, I know why, how it's going to pan out and everything. It's just a matter of addressing the individual flavor as we move along. So.
Tell us a bit about the penciler and inker who are working on Vox Populi. How'd you guys get together?
Yeah, well, we kind of to talk the story about that, it's a little bit talking about the story of Ideal Comics as a whole. We've been making comics here in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, since 2006, and with that we've met people local who are interested in comics and art. And about 3 years ago, Barry, the inker, and I taught a class at our art center, just an introduction to comics and sequential art. And we had some students, and we went through the class work we developed, and all the kids, well, not all of them finished, but several of them made little ash can comics as part of their thing. And everybody had so much fun that they kept talking about, well, what can we do to get together and draw sometime? And so we started hosting monthly, we call them Draw Together. And it's just little hangouts at the coffee shop where everybody brings their comics projects and talks about them. And that's kind of the thing there. So Rico had recently moved back to town, and he knew somebody who'd been in our comics class. And Rico was talking about wanting to find some other artists to hang out with. And friend of a friend, he shows up at the coffee shop one day. And we just started talking about projects, and he's the project he does on his own. It's called The Warehouse: Fables from Vacation Land, and it's about cute, cuddly animals in prison. it's really it's humorous and it's heartwarming and heart wrenching and it's really an amazing project. And we became friends, and he kept saying we should do something together. And I was working on this story with another artist, and that guy flaked out, opted to not continue, I guess is more kind to say. And when that happened, I said, well, hey, actually, I'm looking for an artist for this project. Is this the one you had in mind? And he jumped all over that. So
What I really love about the comics group you're doing with the kids is we talked a lot about there's been so much like YouTube, comics discussion about are comics dying? Do kids care about comics anymore? Can they even get them anymore if they're not at the 7-Eleven? And I kind of feel like it has to be if not a parent thing, then like a community, neighborhood, like kind of instill in young people that this is actually a worthwhile hobby. Like for my parents' generation, comics were kind of everywhere. They were kind of like the dumb kids reading material. And now we're in like an age where it's, 2-second internet memes is the popular entertainment form. So it's almost become like comics are like the secret to introducing children to literacy. It's really done a 180 from the time when I was a kid, I feel like, and you had to hide the comic. Now we're at a point where like most adults would actually be happy if kids were reading anything, including comics.
yeah, I think that's definitely an aspect of things, and I think a lot of kids aren't.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey.
Who we got? I see the metal. Welcome.
Hey. Yeah, I tried coming in like a minute ago, and my browser died on me.
Yeah, I saw your icon pop up, but then it kind of
Yeah, I was on Brave, and for some reason it was interacting with the autoplay block, so I just switched back to Google Chrome.
It's V.
Nice. So for now, we're just like chatting about Expositioner and like willing to warm up a little bit. So, the metal, you've been working on a comic of your own. I think Matt was in like the middle of a point. Matt, do you remember your train of thought there?
No, I have no recollection.
No,
I do know what I was talking about. I was talking about kids and comics, and we were talking about how why is it that I think part of the situation is I think kids are hungry for comics, but they don't have the access to them. So I think a lot of our meme culture is actually comics related, where people are digging on the memes because it's like old editorial comics in a lot of ways, and it's feeding a lot of that same kind of impulse. They just don't have access to actual books, and so there's not the sustained interest in it. And I think that's an aspect of it. And so, I mean, and maybe this is maybe an old fogey, right? Because I know I'm the oldest guy in the room, right? Easily the oldest guy in the room. Because I remember buying comics at the grocery store, and it wasn't even hard to get them. The grocery store, the 7-Eleven, the mini marts, the friggin' bookstore, all over the place. I would, truck stops, wherever, and I think that I get really excited when I hear Peter Smitty talk about another chain that's interested in selling alternative books. That just gets me happy.
Yeah, he's actually doing newsstands. It's crazy. I hope he makes $1 million.
I do too. I have a couple stories I want to sell that aren't ideal comics related. So.
Well, can you break the news of the non-ideal comics related comic idea on this channel?
No, okay. They're too new.
All right.
I will tell you though, one is it's a take on the slice of life genre that I'm doing with my wife.
The slice of life manga genre?
It's I don't know enough about how slice of life mangas are framed.
Yeah,
I'm talking more like the movie style genre stuff.
Gotcha.
So I wouldn't want to say it's because I know there are certain hallmarks of manga genres, and I don't want to step on toes by not knowing.
Right.
But it's definitely it's a drama that has some pretty interesting stuff going on. And got some heart-wrenching moments. It's gonna be really good. And it's a story my wife and I have been working on for quite a while.
What's a working relationship like with your wife? Like, do you have to like dedicate a little time every day to work on things? Is it just sort of like as we make time in our busy lives?
It's exactly as we make time, kind of a thing. And usually, there are. I think it's fair to say there are for this case two kinds of artists, right? There's those that really like interaction, and those that like to be left alone.
Yeah.
Right. There's, I suppose there's a balance in between those things, but my Amy, I love her desperately. I'm not trying to say anything ill about her at all, but she definitely she works at her own pace, and if you put a lot of pressure on her, then she doesn't feel like it. You know what I mean? And so with that, what we'll do is we'll have because of that, it doesn't really work for us to say, okay, every day we're going to do this much. It's more a situation where we'll work on specific tasks, and when that task is completed, then we'll go back. And so, like with this one, I worked out the first draft of the plot, and then she worked out the second draft of the plot, and then we went through and said, okay, now that we have that together, what do we need to change so it fits our page count, and how do we want to, what kind of dialogue notes do we want to work on, and all that kind of stuff. So the development of the story was very collaborative. And then she's worked on thumbnails in between things like that too. So that's kind of how it's worked with her. But the one thing that is a little weird is I'm far more interested in how she feels about the project than I am about the other artists I work with.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to it, it's like, dude, either do it or don't. I don't have time to. If you're not going to do it, I'll find someone else, man. But I'm not going to say that to Amy.
So the metal, do you have your drawing table set up today?
I have stuff ready to draw. I don't have a way of angling anything, so if I do show my work, it'll be upside down unless
it'll be a little bit
flip
more
it for
show and
people.
tell.
But yeah. Because I'm house sitting for somebody, so I'm away from my normal setup.
Gotcha. Change of pace. So the metal, could you tell us a little bit about your comic real quick?
Oh, X Dynamis Chaos. Yeah, it's literally insane. I would probably use that to describe it because it's
as
kind of the main one.
I gotta say, can it be metaphorically insane? Because if it can't be metaphorically,
it can be both.
By definition, be literally insane. It
can be both at the same time.
That's true. It can be both.
Yeah. So X Dynamis Chaos is both the name of basically the little world I'm trying to create and the webcomic that I'm using as the backbone for that world. And probably every story I want to write is vastly more interesting than the webcomic story. Not that the webcomic's not interesting. I just decided to start there because that is the backbone of everything. And it's kind of like, everybody's kind of done role playing and stuff like that with their friends growing up and everything. So this is the story that's based off of like the hyperbole of my life with me and my friends that will branch off into all the more interesting characters that I have come up with over the years.
It kind of reminds me of how Carl's talked about how the comic project he's working on feeds into kind of a larger universe that he's been thinking about. Like there's always like layers upon layers for some of these stories, it seems.
Yeah, and I'm throwing you directly into the world. Like there's no origins of anything. You're just already in the midst of it. And I scatter memories and stuff throughout it that you can piece together at your own pace.
Sweet. So I thought it'd be fun for us to draw the Expositioner together for a little bit and then go to free drawing and just have a free chat. Does everybody have like a free sheet of paper they could go to draw the Expositioner?
Oh yeah, just got
Yeah, I have plenty.
Cool.
I would like a nice reference though. If somebody can DM that to me or something. But
I think I can do that for you. Let's see. I'm just going to use the Indiegogo page for my source of inspiration. Okay, I'll Twitter DM it. Try to do it without face revealing.
Hashtag doxed.
That's the problem when your laptop is your camera setup. Goals for to save up for the YouTube channel. All right, I sent that to the Metal on Twitter, and I'll put it in the mess. All right, there should be some reference images for all y'all for the
I gotta
exposition.
bring up my reference image. Let's see.
Now, one thing I also want to point out, I know we're probably not going to get the color or anything, but one of the things about this uniform that X has is it's made of a smart fabric that is specifically designed as the ultimate in urban camouflage. So the coat can change length and cut, and it's mechanical, it's micromechanical, and it can also change color. And the bodysuit can shape itself into different forms of body armor that have different levels of restriction. And so it's designed into crowds, and it's invisible to electronic surveillance and all that kind of stuff. So
is there any significance to the green hat?
Honestly, Barry just thought it looked good. We were doing photo references. I suggested the flat cap. A bunch of them were green that he saw, and so he just went with it. So the hat is likewise changeable and can be other colors.
Stupid tripod.
And when I carry it, it often is. So
Camera's falling apart over there.
Things happen.
So everybody, chime in when you've got your drawing set up ready to go, and when you know you've got either reference of the expositioner in front of you, or if you know the character enough, you can draw them from your head. Just
Okay,
chime in.
I'm all ready to go.
Yeah, Carl's ready.
yeah. I have a setup right here.
All right. So, Matt, are you gonna join? Are you gonna join the? Definitely. All right. So the way we do this is every time we draw him, we have less time to draw him. So first time we'll have 2 minutes, and then 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and 5 seconds if we're up to it. So
all right.
if everyone's set, I'll begin the time. Everybody set?
Yep.
All right. Countdown in 3, 2, 1. 2 minutes. Go. Draw. 'I like knowing that the coat can change and vary, because that means I can go crazy with it.
Yeah.
And if it should be canon.
We actually are going to see some of that happen in the story too, because it's a plot. So.
"30 seconds remain."
Oh my God. See, I really thought I'd have an unfair advantage because I've drawn him more than once. But
2 minutes are up. All right. Everyone's got to hold up what they got to the camera and take turns.
I went very quick and artsy.
I will present you to the camera as you show off. So the medal, I'll start with you. Present to everyone. There's the medal.
Not bad.
yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Nice.
Definitely better than the last time I did this.
Matthew, I'll do you next. Nice. Carl, do you have yours?
Yep.
Hold on. Present to everyone. There's Carl's.
Dude,
you
I
always
love it.
nail the shapes. All right.
Thank you.
Here we go. Doc's time. There's mine. I do like the Rob Liefeld thing. I just avoid drawing feet or hands if I can. I should get out of the habit of doing that. So I'm actually going to try to make. I'll draw hands and feet.
To be fair, I avoid drawing real hands and feet. My hands and feet are just circles and potatoes.
Rembrandt avoided drawing hands and feet. It's a common problem.
Yeah.
All right, get set up. Next, we're going to draw the expositioner in 1 minute. I'm going to try a different pen. 3, 2, 1, go. What is that hat called that he wears? Doesn't it have like a weird name?
They call them driving caps or flat caps, depending on what part of the world you're from.
I think they were all the rage. Yeah, because there was like the dervish craze, and then that was like an alternative to the whatever it's called. It's called a dervish, right? It's not a fedora. It's a derby.
Oh no, trilby.
Derby.
Trilby.
Drillby.
That's not what I wanted. It's the cap's very common in Celtic nations, which is why I've worn one. They're also kind of a
Same.
city hat. So like we were trying to give him something on his head to give it kind of a different feel to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to say this because I wear this hat, but what do you think? I think it looks really good, Reese. So I could get accused of cosplaying as my character, which is awesome.
It's definitely not a detail you see on too many hero characters, right? But it does kind of fit with
for that matter.
It does fit with maybe kind of like the hard-boiled detective aspect of it.
Yeah, and I didn't want a fedora because I didn't want it to look too much like the Green Hornet. We drew a lot of inspiration from that because I'm once again a big fan, but I didn't want to be like, too AV, if that makes sense.
Oh, I forgot to hit start. That's why it feels like I've been drawing forever. All right, we're gonna call it there. That's 1 minute.
Oh, geez, I thought I was doing really good this time.
Completely arbitrary time limit for everyone.
Okay.
That's fine, whatever.
Ready to show.
I finished
Medal.
something.
I'm gonna present you. There's the medal. It's 1 minute drawing. Nice. Could you hold it a little higher? I love how there's enough variety in the mask that you can have it do some interesting like flag wavy things.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, you're next. Don't.
It looks like a voyak.
Carl, you set?
Yep.
Carl, oh, dang it. All right. So this time I actually tried to draw some hands and feet, and I forgot what his boots look like, or if he wears boots. But I love the trench coat because I can do whatever the heck I want with it. I can make it, and I always love making the collars giant because I don't know. It's just like my inner 9-year-old loves giant jackets. Okay, does the expositioner ever smoke? I need to know this. This is really important. Yeah, does not
He
smoke.
is a good boy.
Does he drink?
No.
Interesting. He's a teetotaler noir detective. That's unique.
He's very straight edge, and a lot of that stems from his military background.
Ooh.
He's a former MP, and one of the things in our universe is that in the middle of the 20th century, there was what we call the Cold Wars, but they weren't what we do in the real world. It was all proxy wars fought by superheroes and by superpowered soldiers.
Wow.
And in the accords that ended the Cold Wars, there was it was a treaty that everybody signed that they can't have paranorms, which is what we call super individuals. You can't have paranorms in any military service. And then James, which is the X's real name, when he signed up, he didn't know he was paranormal, and his powers manifested while he was in the service. And he kept it a secret. And then when he was discovered, he was discharged. He was given a less than honorable discharge, and was basically blackballed from most work after he got back stateside. So with that, he's still a very rigid person who maintains a lot of that discipline with himself, because he never felt like he should have left. And so that's one of the things about his character. So he's very straight edge.
Interesting. All right.
He would probably look down on me for my loose lifestyle.
All right. I've got a 30-second timer set to go. Is everyone set to draw?
Hang on.
If it's actually 30 seconds this time.
Your time.
Oh my goodness, I switched over to my screen on the the Hangouts app instead of my screen in real life.
Oh.
Like, why are none of my buttons working?
Okay, I see. Matthew, I see your drawing program.
Yeah, I'm back now.
Carl's here's, Metal's here's. Okay, looks like everyone's ready. So I'm gonna give us a little countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 30 seconds. Draw Expositioner. Oh, that marker doesn't work.
Shoot, racer, the racer.
Oh, that's it? That's it? No! I got caught up.
I finished a full form at least.
I did not. So this is
I have nothing but shame.
Okay, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Get the worst out of the way.
Matt, you're first. I love it. Okay, I see.
No shoulders even.
No shoulders even. And then the Metal, I'm going to do you next. You got a whole form and cute little chibi arms.
I did. I got a full form. Yeah, I went chibi on purpose. I'm like, yeah, I could do something quick.
I just
way better than the Sporkman one.
And then Carl. Oh, you didn't quite get a full form this time.
Nope. I just went with the face.
Huh. That's actually a pretty good strategy, is just kind of zoom in closer on him. All right, I haven't done me yet, so. Rostus Maximus, the Expositioner, comes in and beats me up for failing at life. He's going to hit criminals with his shoulders. He doesn't even have shoulders. No, he's just going to hit them with the flaps of his collar.
Yeah, use lapels.
You see, the flaps of his collar are his arms now. They are one with him.
See, I learned from last time, and I came in with a different strategy for each time limit. So
I just spaced out. I was just thinking, oh boy, I'll draw the pouches on his boots. Yeah, right. All right,
Rob Liefeldia.
Okay, we're getting down to the final countdown. We're gonna do the 15 seconds. Is everyone set?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on a second. I got it.
Okay.
I do not think I have a strategy for this one, so whatever goes.
I'm just gonna do
I
some
love
notes.
the battle. You're just sitting there, you're just like, how can I game this system? No, I've got this, guys.
He's just thinking strategically.
It's just such a, it's hilarious.
All right, Carl, are you set?
Just kind of stupid. There we go.
All right. I can see the metal set. Matt, are you set?
Oh yeah.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Ah! That's it. Dime or done. Beep, beep, beep. Oh my god.
Okay, I got something.
So I gotta
got
say, I
something
might
to
be
show.
Steven.
The medal
dude,
is
I
all
love
set.
it.
Okay, the medal I'm presenting you to everyone. I gotta stop my timer.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
The hat.
Just like the only thing it needs for clarity is a contour line where the fold is right down the middle of it, where the wind's catching it. Other than that shape is great.
Yeah.
I love it.
I like how the mask is kind of becoming
Yeah,
a
it
bit
almost
like
looks
a
like-
plague mask.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like a plague mask. Not even intentionally. That's just how I draw flags, but
Okay, Matt, I'm going to present you next.
Okay, I gotta say it's kind of a cheat because this is a rear view. This is the back of his hat.
Does he have
Nice.
does he have like a skull armor, or is it a bit more like a traditional superhero cloth on his head?
No, it's the same material as his suit, but it goes up around the back of his head. And so the mask will actually attach to it so it doesn't come loose. It's part of the smart fabric integration we talked about.
Yeah.
so like a traditional
Carl,
cowl that's a part of this shit suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But it's the kind of thing it'll also like it'll blend in. It can blend in or it can push down, that kind of stuff. It's got that smart fabricness to it.
Carl, I'm
You
gonna
can't see
present
my
you-
mouth, but
A variation
actually-
on a theme.
Thumbs up. Dick butt hand.
I like it. It's kind of got like a pizza face going on. It's great. It's great.
Okay, so I have no strategy for how I'm going to do 5 seconds, so I'm probably going to have to like start the timer with my left hand
Okay.
and draw with my. Oh, I didn't present mine. Yeah, because
Yeah, we got to see
When
this
I-
first.
when I get stressed for time, I stop like caring about form at all. So I got his mask and his eyes. That's usually what I hone in on, and then like I drew his chin first, so it looks like it's in front of his mask. And then I thought, oh, I'll draw his hands and his fingers, and then I just put in his arms in the last second.
It looks like he's sitting on a swing.
Give me a push.
He's got his hands around the chains and he's just, oh man, it's been a bad day.
All right, everyone get set up. I'm going to set up the 5-second timer.
Okay.
This is gonna be brutal.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm. Basic forms.
All right, I'm getting my cap off. I have to get my cap off my pen and everything for this. Is everyone set? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'm ready.
Ready?
I'm good.
Metal, you ready? I see that. That's ready. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Timer done. Stop. Oh no! What happened? I have no idea what happened. All right. Who wants to go first? The metal. Looks-
Ooh. Not-
oh
not too
wow!
bad.
Just a few simple
Form.
little strokes. I like that.
Formable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Trying to keep it simple.
It's-
Okay,
Use my
I'm
time
cool.
wisely.
His mask is almost like kind of rhythmically lining up with his collar. That's great. Okay,
yeah.
Matt. Matt. I love it.
I went for broke. I tried to draw him on top of a building and it just didn't go well.
Alternate cover for the Indiegogo campaign. Stretch goal.
No. I'm not paying to print this.
Carla, you set?
Yep. Right here.
Nice.
Man, I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you went a
All right.
similar route that I did. Just kind of
Yeah.
straight patterns real quick.
Yeah.
So I ended up like not picking up my pen ever. So I kind of like tried to get his X and then get his collar at the
Yours
same
looks
time.
like modern art.
Yeah,
Looks like a signature.
Picasso. It took me 30 years to learn how to draw like a child. All right, that's our drawing game. So we can, from this point on, we can chat about whatever. We can draw whatever. Thanks, guys. Make sure I'm not presenting,
Yeah,
or it'll just be cool beans. I'll show off a little bit. When I was just warming up and waiting for everybody to join, I grabbed my public domain fairy tale book. So I'm going to try to illustrate, what's it called? I think it's a Chinese fairy tale called How the Moon Got Its Face. And it talked about how the moon is beautiful now, but the moon used to not be beautiful. And my immediate thought was Majora's Mask. So I'll probably do something fun with that. Like, I like getting to draw ugly things because I get to go crazy with it.
Any excuse for a Majora's Mask reference.
Yeah.
Love that game.
You know, I've never beaten it. I used to just mostly play the games my brother got for the N64, and he wasn't interested in Majora's Mask because he thought it looked lame. So I would just hear, years later, everybody talking about how it might even be better than Ocarina of Time. So it's on that long list of games. Yeah.
Play the 3DS version.
I like
It's
it more than
the definitive version.
Really?
I like it more than Ocarina of Time. But then again, I'm one of the weirdos who likes Wind Waker more than Ocarina of Time.
I kind of like Ocarina of Time. I kind of like Wind Waker just because that was the first Zelda game like I beat on my own without like my big brother helping me. So I've got a nostalgia reason for it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably going to replay when I finish the 5 Let's Plays I've started and haven't finished. I'm probably going to try to play my way through the Zelda games for my channel. I'll draw a link.
I don't know if I want to draw anything. What I want to draw.
Oftentimes when I don't know what to draw, I just draw random things. Typically faces, because I don't know, that's just where my mind goes to first.
Well, as long as it doesn't go to feet, we're all right.
Oh, good grief.
I'm not Mr. Marvel.
He shouldn't have revealed that. There are things you don't let the internet know.
He let the internet know that often.
Yeah,
And
no,
he
I
was-
like
and
Troy
he was
because he just
proud.
unabashedly loves his stuff.
He was proud of it. Hey. And you know,
I guess
more power
He
to
has
him.
no shame.
I guess that's better than the Tom Preston route, which is just to pretend it doesn't exist.
Oof, yeah.
I respect that. He's like, hey, this is what I like, and that's that.
Is he banned forever, Mr. Marvel, or is he just temporarily suspended?
I don't know. I hope it's only a temporary suspension because I love that man.
I think it's
He was talking
with
with yeah.
you had like 7 temporaries, I think. I think they're just like cut
He's
him
been,
off.
Crazy on DeviantArt though ever since the ban.
Oh shoot! I better go check
Uploading
DeviantArt
everything. Yeah, he's just been uploading everything there.
DeviantArt is the new alt media.
You should go to Newgrounds too. That's where all the people are, all the degenerates.
I don't see. That's the thing. Newgrounds is an interesting place because it's actually the birthplace of
I love
like
Newgrounds.
the greatest internet animations known to man.
It's got some history to it, yeah.
Yeah, and like as soon as Tumblr started banning not safe for work stuff, they started advertising like, you could bring all your art here. We always allow not safe for work stuff. There's a huge influx that very day.
Smart marketing.
Hentai everywhere.
Dude, I went and uploaded my whole webcomic there as a backup.
Oh, that's. I didn't know
Not
you
even
did
as a
that.
backup. My stuff's everywhere. Yeah. No, my stuff is like literally everywhere. I don't care about my metrics being in one place. I just want people to see it.
Right. And like Google can't ban me. Hopefully.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll pull their
I'm in
strings.
too many places.
They'll break into MySpace and take my comic off there.
Now that
Well,
would be
luckily I own the
dedication.
domain to my actual site, so
For now, my stuff's just on Tapas, to whatever. That
Pastic.
Tapastic.
Yeah,
Can you monetize?
I put my stuff there too, but
Yes, you can. You can monetize content there.
you have to hit a certain subscriber and upload count, but it's very small, and as soon as you do, you can start monetizing. I think it's like, what, 50 followers independently? My thing is, I don't like uploading in chunks at that site, even though it's meant for you to upload in chunks.
Yeah.
Just because I'm already doing page by page everywhere else. So I just wait until the chapter's done and I'll bulk upload it there.
Tapas is a cool platform, but I'm not a fan about like 80% of the stuff that's uploaded there. It's just not for me.
Are they a bit more free for all, whatever you want to upload, or are they a bit more curated?
There is a special curated section.
Yeah, it's like an alternate webtoon, sort of.
Yeah.
Like a direct competitor to webtoon.
With a lot of romance webcomics, like a bunch.
Yeah.
And they're all
like primarily
they're all imitations of romance manga.
I also like that you can upload chapters of web novels up there too, though. That's pretty cool. Same problem for the bulk of what's on there, but
I have not stopped getting ads for My Giant Nerd Boyfriend, the animated series from Webtoons. And I remember, like browsing around Webtoons, and that'd be like a highly rated comic on there. I don't know. It's interesting that, I mean, like the old route used to be like create your own website and share it around and hope you go viral. So it's kind of interesting that these, I guess they're trying to, it's almost like an emerging YouTube market for webcomics where, they benefit from ad revenue and you get a chunk of that. Are you with us, Matt?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I don't have anything to add at this point. I
just saw the Photoshop at the opening menu, and I wondered if you were having screen trouble.
Oh no,
he's just
other stuff.
Listening to all that new stuff as a veteran of the webcomic industry.
Well, like a lot of that stuff happened when I wasn't paying attention. It's kind of weird about that. Like there was a bunch. Back when I started doing webcomics, there was a bunch of centralized sites that were just a thing. We were on Comics Central for a long time. Not Comic Central. Comic Genesis. Getting confused in my head.
My phone just perished.
What?
My phone perished.
Well, that's no good.
It was a cruel death. But mostly because I didn't know the battery was that low.
I was having that problem too. My reference image was on my phone, and it was at like 8% the whole time that we were doing the draw thing. Like, okay, let's do this fast.
That's perfect. But yeah, so we ended up leaving. And doing our own website just because we were having bandwidth problems on the thing. And doing your own website, it's such a challenge because it's like you know, you have to manage everything, and there's no built-in communities or anything on that. And so it's its own kind of beast, so to speak, you know. But there's definite benefits too to doing something like that, because like, you know, the marketing is just a challenge. I don't know how else to say it.
Do you like to only have your comic on one place, or do you like to distribute it to multiple places?
I would the for me the thing isn't that I have a problem with distributing; it's keeping up with all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe this is you know, old man problem, but it is a definite challenge to think those sort of terms, you know, to take the whole, try to keep track of, you know, where everything was and where you put things and where you uploaded this or that. I mean, we've got a mirror on Patreon right now, and even keeping up with that is something I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that entirely.
Okay, I'm gonna draw the expositioner, but my phone's dead, so I'm gonna try to piece together something from the references of my own quick draw, and you'll just have to deal with whatever that is.
Ooh.
That sounds amazing.
Should be fine. Some of them came out pretty good.
I'm actually going to draw his hands and feet. That's the goal I've set myself.
I think I'm gonna
every artist's
draw
worst enemy.
some propaganda kind of thing.
Ooh, interesting.
Since he's so straight edge, I'm gonna have him doing a "Don't do drugs, kids" type thing.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool. Very nice of him. It's important to never do the drug.
You know, I'll tell you what, that actually might make it into continuity. Because in the time before he was his disgrace, he was a public figure in the Fremont City where he lives. So that actually might make a fun deep cut to throw into something somewhere.
Nice. So we got to send you our stuff if we want to end up in continuity, right?
Yeah, that's how it works.
All right.
Oh, I'm gonna scan all of this as soon as we're done.
Yeah. When I did Sporkman, I just sent because I sometimes do like trash doodles that are just goofing off for fun, but I sent him everything and gave him permission to use whatever he wanted for anything. Because I did a few nice ones during that stream too. I'm gonna go to Flare 10, try old reliable.
I really liked what I drew until I saw Eric's. Then I felt bad.
Yeah.
Because his Tyrannosaurus Rex was just so good.
It's really good at drawing the dinosaurs.
Matt, did you read much Image comics growing up?
I didn't actually. I said, most of my comics were just off the newsstand, and so
Yeah.
it didn't make it to distribution where I was at very well. So, now it's actually funny because, his name, my God, Barry and I often have a conversation because he was an Image baby, right? I mean, that was his bread and butter. And a lot of that was that because that's what was on the newsstands where he was, right? And so it's just really interesting to see kind of, what went where as far as distribution goes. That's just something I find super interesting.
I asked because the Expositioner's mask, it reminds me of some Image character, but I don't know his name because I haven't learned my Image characters yet. Where it's kind of like there aren't that many where it comes down to a point in front of them, which is funny because that's actually a bit more mask. Like so many superheroes, they just have the traditional like it pulls straight down over their face. But a lot of guys, if they were kind of just making a mask, you'd think it'd be like cloth that might dangle or hang in a funny way. That's maybe a design aspect that I think not enough people play with.
Yeah, it's the guy I think of is Grifter.
That's it. You got it, Grifter.
Yeah. And the reason I know that is because that was part of our conversation when we decided to go with the design we had. Is that a direction we want to go with it? Because one of our changes when we recently changed about a year and a half ago, changed X's costume from his original design. And I had actually done the original design work on it, and we had some other people tweak it so it looked a little fancier. But it ended up looking very, very much like a Midnighter's costume. And I was not familiar with Midnighter until somebody pointed it out to me. I was like, oh, I guess that is very, 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 very similar. Well, drat. And we ended up just trying to find something that was a little different than that. And we're trying to think about mask elements and everything. And I had this idea of the draping mask, and part of the reason is I've always loved the Green Hornet and the Lone Ranger, and in the old serials, especially the Lone Ranger had a draping cloth mask like this. It then became a hard mask, and then became a domino mask as entertainment moved around, right?
Yeah.
So, so with that, one of the things that we went ahead and did is like I liked it for the X, Y, and Z reasons, and I said to Barry, I said, hang on a second, my brain just melted on me for a second. I said I like this idea. What do you think? Is that too much? I think it's too much like Grifter. And Barry's like, I don't even care. I thought of that mask before Grifter was designed. I want to use it. Because he had the same idea back when he was reading before Image was founded. Because I was talking about him being an Image baby, how he got into comics, but that's kind of only half the story for him. He discovered the Image guys on their work with the X family, and then kind of followed them over to Image when they started that. And so he did drawing and everything before that. So he'd come up with a very similar idea to all of that stuff then. It was really funny to say that was kind of really was dedicated to the idea of using that mask. So that's why there's this part of, it's not a direct, it's like the other day, Scott Bruckner was asking me about whether or not we were inspired by the question in our design work. And my answer was not directly anyway. I'm sure that's, the question springs from a similar place in, the thought of the time, so to speak. But that wasn't what we were going for, We weren't trying to do a Rorschach or not trying to do whatever.
Yeah. I feel like with superhero characters, there's such a limited set of costume varieties that eventually it's going to look like someone like every superhero I drew when I was a kid had like the bright boots, the bright gloves, the bright mask, and maybe like a shoulder or a chest motif or something, right? So if you can mix, like you've mixed in enough different like sources that it's not any one thing. I think, like especially like the green hat with the red and blue. That's a pretty unique color combination. It's not the red, blue, and yellow superhero code.
Yeah, and that's something we wanted to do too with the coat, is give it something that has the feeling of some of those hat superheroes, but also have the flexibility of the urban camouflage thing that we really wanted to use, which wasn't part of the original concept, but adapted into the idea that he's a hero on the run. So
it's interesting to see how these concepts change over time, because sometimes you can end up with something almost completely different than what you originally started with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the idea of his being disgraced and all that's something that we wanted, but we had, I guess probably in its original version, hadn't really thought through how that would be some of the implications of that. So.
I'm going to give him a really strong chin, even though you can't see it.
Do it.
And the only hint you can get is by this really sharp angled jaw coming out the side.
I drew Expositioner doing the Kenshiro pose.
Nice.
What is the Kenshiro pose?
You are already dead.
Oh, nice.
Where he's standing tall and pointing the finger directly at the camera.
Nani?
Anime I have to watch, but I can't find anywhere.
It's on Crunchyroll and Verve. It's perfect. Watch it.
I mean, I've been
cry your manly tears.
I've been really enjoying JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it's kind of like that same era of hyper masculine action anime. So I can't wait.
Super violent. It's sort of like if Mad Max and Kung Fu movies had a very violent child. It's great.
Almost directly, because it has direct Mad Max inspiration and Bruce Lee inspiration. You can even hear
it's
by
also
the guitars.
what inspired JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it's arguably just as insane.
Wow.
I believe, was it like, there was a 6 months gap between when Fist of the North Star stopped and JoJo started.
Huh.
Yep.
Matt, have you caught? Are you hip to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure yet?
I am not.
I can't. I kind of can't believe it exists. What I like about the guy is, especially when he talks about art, he talks about the importance of, I don't know, of kind of like taking inspiration from something and then putting, I don't know, it's like speaking to people in a way that they find it memorable and it impacts them. So it's kind of the opposite of, weird modern comics where everybody's like super cerebral and thinks like they're super duper special. He's just very straightforward. Like, I want it to be a success. The way to make it a success is to think about your first page. And he just gives all these good examples. Like, if the character says, I'm going to go make spaghetti, you can use that line as a way of establishing their character. And then it'll explain all the ways that this establishes something about the character. Great.
He is quite literally the opposite of a pseudo-intellectual. It's great.
Very worldly man.
Apparently, when creating characters, he also goes the opposite way around of what you think. He starts off with their abilities, and then he creates personalities around those abilities.
Which kind of makes sense for a battle manga, right? Like you can tell he spends a lot of time thinking like, how am I going to get him out of this situation? And that's a fun way to write, like, because it gives you like if you know the character uses fire, you know, like the stereotype is, oh, okay, well he must be hot-headed. But if you have something like that, it can tell you something about the way they think about, you know, how they approach problems in life, maybe.
Especially if that character is only showing up for like one chapter as a villain or something. It really emphasizes who they are by connecting.
I like how oddly specific all of the villain powers tend to be.
Yeah, like I'm still in Stardust Crusaders, and I loved it so much I went back and found the anime for the first 2 seasons, and I would. A lot of people seem to skip to Stardust Crusaders because that's the famous one. I really enjoyed the first 2 story arcs.
Battle Tendency is my favorite part.
Yeah,
Battle Tendency is the best.
Poor Matt, we're leaving him out of the discussion.
No, it's fine.
Watch it. You will understand all memes from anime forever afterwards.
Joseph Joestar is my favorite JoJo. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's such a dumb, fun character.
He's an idiot genius. And then when you see him do an amazing thing, that just makes it crazier later when he does something stupid or he gets like really hypersensitive about something.
Like, haha, I've been setting up this plan the entire time we were fighting. You just didn't see it.
The best part is how impossible a lot of that is. It's just like, I predicted that you would land on this exact spot.
Yeah. How did you get all that yarn everywhere the whole time we were fighting?
And how did I not notice?
I feel like it's almost like a different way of thinking about how to tell a story, JoJo, because he was really interested in wrapping up the fight really quick. Like later when I'd watch Dragon Ball or Naruto, like I like Naruto because the fights were so interesting and they would go on for a while and they were like a big appeal. And in JoJo, it's just boom, you know, I've got a problem. JoJo solves the problem. Bad guy dead. It's kind of a different. I don't know. Maybe like he just wants to wrap it up and move on to the next bad guy, I guess.
Yeah. It's, how many can I fit in one story? That's the real thing.
Yeah.
I've got way too many ideas and way too many musical references that I want to catch. How many can I fit into this part? And I think a lot of it came to, he had no idea how long it was going to last.
Yeah.
And you can see that. Like all the other chapters up until part 7, which he really had freedom, kind of going more of a traditional like volume route, were kind of rushed every pacing of it. But you got a lot out of the story, and that was that whole weekly jump pressure pushing.
Yeah, like do or die. You know, you could be canceled anytime.
Yeah, but then with Steel Ball Run, he kind of got to work like an epic, like a movie out of it because there was less pressure, and he was kind of doing like, I think it was 3 chapters a volume or whatever instead. So it's nice to see how all that experience under the pressure got to carve out like a really nice thing afterwards.
Steel Ball Run is also one of the nuttiest stories he's ever made.
Yeah.
So Matt, are you like a big anime guy at all, or are you maybe like dip your toes into the water of a couple of them kind of a guy?
Oh, it's definitely more the latter. I've seen, you know, the very vanilla stuff. You know, My Friend Totoro and Vampire and a D, and
Oh, My Neighbor Totoro is a good one.
And, you know, I've seen most of Akira, but that was like 20 years ago. So I want to rewatch it. I just recently bought Ghost in the Shell to watch again, but I haven't seen that since I was 19. So
It's almost
I like, you know, a lot of the Studio Ghibli films I've seen, but,
yeah.
You know.
I kind of feel like it's almost a different genre than anime. It's why I think Hayao Miyazaki makes fun of anime a lot because a lot of it's crap. a lot of it's rushed out really fast and has a low budget. And I think Miyazaki is a bit more of a I want to make beautiful, like better than Walt Disney massive works of art. So that's definitely like a good. Like I get it. Like it definitely makes sense to kind of like focus on some of the greatest that the country has to offer. But I've also I glean a lot. I think I learn about the Western comics market as I look at the Japanese comics market because they just tend to think about things a little bit differently. And I always look at it as like if two cultures are looking at the same kind of things, stories with pictures, maybe they both kind of add a different perspective to it that work together well.
Yeah, I think that's a fair guess.
Do you know what I think you might enjoy in the anime sphere, Matt? Nausicaa. That is Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. It's a very good movie. It's a Miyazaki movie. Have you ever seen that one?
Seen which one?
Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
Oh, no. I've heard of it, but not really anything about it.
It's a really good sci-fi fantasy movie.
Wasn't it his first one?
Yes,
And the story about Nausicaa I love is his director wouldn't let him do it until he did a comic about Nausicaa. So he produced this entire manga for the story of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. I still haven't found any comic artist who draws the way Miyazaki draws comics. It's not an anime style. It's his illustration style. And just like really crazy, unusual panel compositions and detailed illustrations. So he drew that whole thing just to persuade him to let him make the movie. I almost feel like the comic is this like almost little known gem from Miyazaki's history. I really enjoyed it.
And also, after the movie was finished, he continued working on the comic and basically continued and finished the story from the movie within the comic. Which is nutty. That's insane. It's really cool. Porco Rosso is another Miyazaki movie that started out as a manga.
Yeah, I did enjoy Porco Rosso, honestly. That's one I've seen.
Porco Rosso is one of my favorites.
My favorite is Kiki's Delivery Service.
That was one of the only ones I got to see as a child, so it's always kind of stuck with me because of that. Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to watch that as a kid because the main protagonist is a witch.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess my parents were a little bit more chill about that because they figured, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien, they took the approach that if it's a story, it's okay. Huh.
I had a very interesting upbringing because my parents were Catholic,
Huh.
but they didn't like that, so they became Protestant, and they're also hippies. So I'm like in this very weird middle ground between things.
Wait,
Protestants
and also hippies?
Oh yeah, it happened.
That's a new one.
It's actually, have you ever heard of the Jesus people?
Oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah, they were a huge commune of Protestants that were also hippies.
Well, they started.
Like my dad followed the Grateful Dead around the country.
Oh yeah, my wife would be super jealous. She's a huge Dead fan. We sometimes have arguments about how much she likes the Grateful Dead. And I love that woman, but I don't love the Grateful Dead that much.
It's acid music.
It's not that it's bad. It's just not.
No. I mean, it's literally acid music.
Oh, that's all
like,
true.
You can appreciate it without being on acid, but people appreciate it more if they're on acid. Because there's certain sounds that pop out that don't normally. Not that I've ever done it, I just know the research behind it.
Fine. Have your little science.
I love science.
But do you effing love science? Hashtag
love the science.
Oh,
I don't like that page.
I'll have you know that this is a picture of a meteorite and global warming is real, and you need to check your privilege.
God damn it. I'm going to step out for a second, guys.
Of course.
Here, I'll figure out how I'm gonna do that effect later. I'm gonna have him like popping like a blunt between his hands, as it says, "Winners don't do drugs." Just like crushing it to where it pops in every direction.
Nice. Yeah, I just wanted to draw the expositioner with a cigar in his mouth. Little did I know how important that was to his character when I. Oh, I didn't realize this until it's too late. I'm drawing like a dark version of the expositioner, like very dark and broody. So I should have given him a cigar just to be a smart aleck, because it's like an alternate version of him. Too late.
Or just like like hide it in between his like fingers, so it's just like sitting there smoking, like he just took the bit off it. It's just still there. Yeah, kind of like a kingpin type thing.
Yeah, I have a perfect spot I can do that too. It's just gonna look like a dick.
Well, that's an awkward thing for.
Yeah, but what doesn't?
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
And sometimes
Except when it isn't.
That's a pretty badass picture there, man.
This one, yeah, I'm having like dark expositioner. He's either like expositioning like a really dark and moody story, or he's turning to the dark side, or this is the expositioner of the negative universe or something.
Well, we don't have a negative universe.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it's one thing I'm pretty, I guess, pretty pedantic with. For the way for the structure of our universe, that in the context of canon, there aren't really other universes.
That's unique for comics.
It's the one, yeah. There may within the structure of the universe, as far as with the main story, there are pocket dimensions and places where the machinery of the universe is separated out. There are different realms and things, but it's all part of a single machine. So
yeah, I'm doing the same thing.
So we're having so like for example, the in our webcomic, we're doing something different with the way we're launching. But when we get back up the current storyline, we're along to a story where our one of our main characters, Chad, has to go rescue his mother from the other world, from Anuvin, the Celtic other world, and that's a pocket made by the old Celtic gods within the structure of the universe. So time doesn't flow the same way there. You'll have different properties, different magic, mystery, and all that stuff. But it's still part of our universe.
Now, when you say part of the same machine, do you mean that metaphorically or literally?
Yes.
Okay, because I would too.
Yeah.
I think there might be some similarities, just creative accidentally, between our verses.
Wait, are all of our universes cosmic machines now?
Well, I'm talking about like and this is part of my own weird philosophy. I think that all the reason we have convergences of ideas are that we all are a participant in a single universe that follows a single rule or course of being, right? And so people invent things, people discover things.
Yeah,
Like
that's kind of how I treat it too.
we didn't, and I mean in the real world, right? We
Yes,
didn't think that slavery was wrong. We discovered slavery was wrong. We didn't invent nuclear fission. We discovered nuclear fission. And those things had always been part of the base programming and base mechanical and metaphysical structure of the universe. We simply discover them as we become more aware of the world around us.
You might
Yeah,
say
you kind of derive it out of the system.
Exactly. The system was always built to sustain the internet, but the internet didn't exist before they put the first two computers together. So in the Ideal Comics universe, there's actually a world within a world, an organic analog of the real world on the internet, right? And in the world's computer systems, and there are beings that live there and dwell there and all that other kind of stuff. And that arose when just it came into being at the point when they put the first two systems together. But the potential for it was always there because it was part of the design. So the same as the realms, pseudo hell and Moving and other things like that too.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I world building is it's a little crazy.
Oh, I know crazy world building.
The funny thing about it to me is like that there is that the line between the way I think the world is actually built and the way I believe and the way I've constructed the world for my comics, they're very similar.
Yeah.
But it's enough that like if I was to explain the way I think the universe is actually put together after explaining the way I put my fictional universe together, I'm pretty sure people would think I was mad. But if you're exclusion of each other, I don't think people would be like, "Oh, okay, I can see that." But wait a second.
I can relate. Yeah.
Matt, are you working on a webcomic there?
Yeah, actually, I'm working on recoloring the first, or actually coloring the first 6 pages of Forces that we're relaunching. I don't know if you guys have been following at all, but we took Forces down when we moved to a new server, and rather than just dump all of it at once, we've had so many people, had several people that have said, "I'd love to read your webcomic, but where do I start?" And I felt the call for that was enough that since we were having to change things around anyway, we're just releasing a storyline every week. And so every Friday on forcesofgoodandevil.net, you'll get the next full chapter installment. And we're going to do that all the way up until we catch up where we're at with Panic at the Ren Fair. So it's about something like 500 pages, I think. But it's 24 stories. So Hey, I don't know if you're checking the chat at all there, but Milkshake Dove just sent you money.
Really? Well, I got to read that. Hey, Milkshake Dove, you're going to be on the Thank You Forever. I don't know if I've explained this, but I do something called the Eternal Thank You. Milkshake Dove, notice me, doggo. Okay, so I thank all of my super chat donators in the credits of every video I do, and my plan is I thank them for an entire year, and then like if I've got like that way if I have like 100 people or 1,000 people, then I can refresh the credits. But I'm gonna put people in a video I call the Eternal Thank You that never expires. So every year I'm gonna make an Eternal Thank You video, or I'll probably have like some music, like some drawings, and I'll just thank everyone who's ever supported the channel. Try to turn it into a tradition.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Milkshake's been commenting on a lot of my issues. It's always interesting when you get a new subscriber and then they go and like find the old stuff and like, comment on that because then it reminds you that stuff exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, my gaming channel. I always forget that I have this video. That it's pretty much just an OST thing because I was bored in Goemon's Great Adventure, and it was just sitting there in the Psychic's place. And it's one of the few ways that you can listen to an extended version of the Parazimus theme.
Huh.
And I forget that it's on there. It's probably my most viewed video.
Yeah.
And every so often, somebody will just pop a comment on there, and I'll remember that it's there.
That's hilarious.
I kind of like the Metal's idea of a PSA, so that's what mine ended up turning into. Since I had Expositioner with a cigar, I needed an in-universe explanation for why that is, and he's clearly taken it from someone who has died from lung cancer the second it touched their lips.
That's so wonderful.
I finished up the shading on the Kinshiro Expositioner. Oh, whoops, wrong angle. There's the right camera. Here he is.
Nice. Here, let me present you to the audience so everyone can see that. Hold on. Click. Present to everyone. Nice.
That's awesome.
Zoom out for all the doodles.
I just realized that was a magnifying glass in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Thanks.
It's also crazy how versatile like you can draw. That's the thing that's just nuts.
And fitting little faces into things, right? Like that's almost like an interesting way to come up with ugly character designs where
Oh yeah, I do that a lot. A lot of my pages are just filled to the brim with doodles like this.
Dope.
Like this coffee mug. I have no idea what he's going to be, but I think I'm going to use him in something. Discount Cuphead.
I'm finally gonna get a play Cuphead now that it's being released on Mac.
Oh, I have it on Mac. It's pretty darn good. My bro and I were planning on doing like some Let's Plays, and Cuphead was one of the ideas we had.
Younger bro or older bro?
He's my older bro. We do a podcast together.
Huh.
I used to do a podcast with my brother.
You'll never guess how original we were with this one. The Two Bros Podcast.
Well, you know, if there's a good open name like that, that's open, take it because that's memorable.
He just remembered a random Rick and Morty joke. He's just like, okay, I guess we're just going to call it the Two Brothers Podcast. It's just like two brothers, just two brothers. Okay, two bros podcast. I'm just like, well, okay, that works.
I had the best name for a podcast when me and my brother were doing it. We were doing the Vomitorium.
Ooh, yeah, like from ancient Rome.
Yeah. And most people thought it was that misbelief of a place where people would go to vomit. It's like, no, it's like when you're at a baseball field or whatever, that place where all the people go out to the seats, that kind of hallway. That's what the Vomitorium is. And it was a fun podcast. It was mostly just shit talking on video games and SJWs and stuff. So typical things.
I'm gonna wrap up Smoking Kills. And then I'll keep
Doesn't
keeping
sound too dissimilar to the Two Bros Podcast. Although we try to avoid politics whenever we can.
Oh, we tried to avoid it. It just kept coming up anyway.
Yeah, that's how it is, ain't it?
That's what I keep trying to tell people. Everything is political. It's just the nature.
Especially because we did it live on Twitch. So people would just come in and start saying things.
Yeah, that'll do her. That's hilarious.
Last episode was our E3 episode, and we only mentioned politics once, so that was good. And it was about how most games journalists were hacks who were just failed political journalists. Which is true, by the way.
Oh, it is, yeah. I almost forgot that E3 was a thing this year until people started posting about it.
So
I've watched
Punchy
it so long.
Punchy Sonichu points out if I have 1 million subscribers, then the idea of doing an eternal thank you will be a pain. And that's kind of my idea is if I get like an insane amount of people supporting the channel, then I just make a bigger and bigger production out of it. Plus, I can just hopefully copy paste. But that'd be a problem I'd be okay having. If I have 1 million people financially supporting the channel, I will put in the time to say thank you to every single one of them because I'll just still be bored.
Yeah, just don't do it alphabetically. Do it order that they subscribe, so then you could just keep adding to the end of the video.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless there's an easy program that I can just click and it alphabetizes the names or something. But
I know this is a terrible
You're putting
thing
too
to
much work
compare
on
it
yourself.
to, but it's sort of like how Mighty Number 9's credit sequence was 3 hours because they listed all their backers.
oh wow, really?
Which in that situation, it's more bitter than anything. It's just
Yeah.
your name is forever attached to this piece of crap.
No, I have a shirt signed by KEG Inafune, and it's probably worth less now than before he signed it.
Poor man.
I don't know. Some things are
No, he was cool when I met him.
some things are worth more because of their cringe potential.
Yeah.
You know, a few years ago, I would have never thought that KG Inafune would be cringe potential, but here we are. Now
Better than nothing.
Better than nothing. He's a super polite guy, though, but that probably just comes from being Japanese.
Rest in peace, Mighty Number 9 backers, says Milkshake Dove. Oh, and Milkshake Dove likes your work, Carl.
Thank you.
Because really, how could you not? I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah. Who doesn't like Carl's work?
Not I. I mean, I
Yes,
don't.
that is grammatically correct. Who doesn't? Not I. That is grammatically correct.
Okay, there you go. Curses, though. I got myself confused.
Yeah, no, the negatives were lined up properly.
Oh, good. Thank goodness. It's intuitive now.
I was an A student in English, so I know these things.
I was too, but that was a really long time ago, and I'm only half paying attention to myself. So
Well, at least this time I didn't draw anybody with 2 right hands. That's the important part.
It's actually quite a common mistake.
Yeah.
Unless you're
Huh.
Hirohiko Araki, in which case it's on purpose.
The man with
Yeah.
the 2 right hands.
That's a JoJo reference Matt doesn't get.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's not too bad because I drew myself with the duplicate hands, and I am technically ambidextrous, so
Well, he'd get the reference.
there could be a joke in that.
You'd probably get the reference, the musical reference that the character's name is.
I don't know the musical reference for the character's name.
What, Centerfold?
Centerfold, yeah.
Yeah, Jay Giles band.
Yeah.
Huh. Gosh, I gotta
I love
learn
that
my
song too.
Western
That's such a good
music.
song.
Actually, no, it was his stand that was named Centerfold. He was actually called.
Yeah, he was Jay Giles.
That's right.
Wait, the stand was named
His stand was named Centerfold.
Which is a
Wait.
song by the Jay Giles band, and the stand user was
Yeah.
Jay Giles.
Okay.
You know, sometimes you got to do your homework, which is another song by Jay Giles.
Sort of like how Killer Queen's attack is. Oh yeah, Killer Queen's main ability is bites the dust.
Bites the dust.
Killer Queen.
And Killer Heart
Bites the
Attack.
dust.
He also has Killer Heart Attack.
Your hand has touched the doorknob. The only franchise where you can lose by touching the doorknob with your hand.
Yeah. Or by knowing things. You could just lose by knowing things.
Oh, you saw my face. I guess I can't let you live.
They found out who I am. Now it triggered my bomb. Automatically.
Now I don't even understand these JoJo references. I gotta get reading.
Well, you haven't gotten that far yet if you're still on Stardust, so.
Yeah.
Part
We're
4
ahead of you.
is the best aside from part 2, in my first. Actually, no, I still like
Part 4 is the inspiration for the Persona series.
That's
Good
the fun
grief.
part. Yeah.
Like did Hirohiko Araki just show up and say, "Hey, here you go, anime industry," and then like everything existed after that?
I am a blessing upon all of you.
Yeah, that's basically how it went.
I first got interested in it because my roommate was a true weeb, and he told me like all these stories. Like every anime, like Pokemon, references JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but Westerners just don't get it. And so that got me interested in it initially. But then it was really his art that sold me on it because he's just so expressive and unusual.
I just like the fact
Well,
that
my
it's an
favorite
anime
reference
where the
is
fight
the first
scenes
one.
are actually like predicated on strategy.
Yeah.
Things. Instead of
Yeah.
power level, instead of focusing on power levels, it focuses on like circumstances and using your surroundings. It's really
Yeah, I
clever
mean, I
stuff.
really like power scaling, but it's a nice change of pace.
Oh, I'm one to talk when it comes to power scaling because like, I love Dragon Ball a lot. I just love Akira Toriyama in general.
Yeah. I think my favorite reference, though, is on the very first page. Because some people didn't realize, because I guess it just goes over people's heads, that the earliest music reference is a Beatles reference. They think it didn't come till later with the White Album as a stand. But it's Get Back. The whole series is named after the song Get Back. Because JoJo was a man who thought he was a loner, but he knew it couldn't last.
Oh,
Ah,
okay.
good grief.
See, I wondered about that, but I didn't really know about it, so I was like, well, that's weird. That seems like a weird name
Yeah.
for a thing.
How did I not put that 2 and 2 together?
I don't know,
A
Mark.
lot of people don't.
See, everybody talks about JoJo's references, but the funny thing is that JoJo's itself is just one giant reference. to everything.
Yeah, referential humor. Everybody likes it.
I notice a lot of mangaka have interesting naming schemes for characters. Like Toriyama will name characters after inanimate objects and junk, and if the characters are in the same family, then they'll be named after similar inanimate objects.
Yeah, theme naming.
Like Frieza and Cooler.
Or I like how Fist of the North Star, since the star is in the name, a lot of the names have a lot of celestial bodies and just celestial themes to them, like heaven and stuff like that. That's a pretty good system when it has to do with the title and everything.
I am not so clever
But
when it
since
comes to names.
Oh yeah.
I do a lot of pun names, I guess, for my characters. I love Charles Schultz's stories that he saw peppermint patties and he thought, I've got to make a character that's called Peppermint Patty before someone else does, and he came up with the character based on the name. Dickens is kind of had a tendency for that too. Like he'd give him a name like Heap if it's an awful character, or Cheerable if it's a cheerful character.
Although I do on occasion give my characters sillier names. Just, it's rare for me to do so. I typically stick to normal names or some kind. Or more unusual ones. But on occasion, I'll get a bit more laid back. Just make a pun or something. And they're typically not very clever puns or wordplay. Like, I remember a while back I created a character who was named after the Blunderbuss, which is a old weapon, and I just named him Blundy Busserman. Pinnacle of originality.
I kind of just let names come to me. I try to be thoughtful about them, but I don't want to put pressure. So I was just like, yeah, you got a name? You'll tell me.
I got to look at them and be able to attach the name to them in my head, or I'm just going to misname them every time I draw them. You know?
Yeah.
I typically try to give characters names based upon either some sort of symbolism or national origin. Sometimes I work backwards, I'll find a name and then stretch their origin based on the name. A lot of times I'll move forward from where I want them to be into the name. So it's not always the case. I mean, like when we named Chad and Greg from Forces, we actually had these two ideas for these characters. We wanted one to be very blunt and a little bit of a jock and very boisterous in his personality, very self-possessed and maybe a little forceful. And we wanted one guy to be kind of a quiet, goody two-shoes, kind of a nerd of a character. And Chris and I were both working at Domino's Pizza, and we knew a Chad and knew a Greg that kind of sort of matched the personalities we were going for, so we named our characters after these guys. And we told them, we said, okay, so you know, we're stealing your names because you're kind of sort of like this, and and we're looking for somebody who's exactly like this, and so we're using your name. That was in 2000. I want to say no, it was 2003. It was in 2003 when we came up with those characters. We tried pitching the whole series to Mad Magazine, and they didn't want it. Joke's on them.
Yeah, they just wrapped up, didn't they?
Yeah.
Wow.
People quit reading. So,
End of an era.
so anyway, but yeah, so it wasn't until a couple of years ago I'd heard the term "good guy Greg" or Chad used as a slang term, and ironically, those fit our characters very well too.
The Virgin Greg versus the Chad.
Yep. That wasn't something we intended, but because I'd never even heard of that until like a couple of years ago. But
I think that's because people with the name Chad tend to be like that for some reason.
well, I think it's I think the I actually looked it up, the origin of the Chad as a slang term, and it was like a Chicago slang term from like the mid 2000s, mid 20 aughts. And it was one of those things that frat boys got called, or people that weren't from the city that came into the city, caused trouble, then go back to the burbs. And so that's the origin of the term, because it was supposed to be an upper class name. And that was the joke on that. But I just knew a Chad who fit the bill, sort of. I mean, the real Chad is much kinder than our Chad was of his story. But,
Okay, I have characters where you'll never figure out what their real names are. I'm never including them. You know that they're there, like they have real names, but you just will never learn them.
Going the Sporkman route with that, I see.
Yeah, well, it's kind of because there's a lot of internet inspiration to it, and there's a lot of anonymity to the internet.
Makes a lot of sense.
And I like the idea that that there's some people that never lose their anonymity. You just never find out who they are.
Like me, I'm a man of mystery. Not really.
I'm spending way too much time on this lettering and not actually inking the picture.
Oh, yeah. I kind of like just write in my big elementary all caps letters style for lettering. So it's not the prettiest thing, but it just gets the job done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of doing that, except I'm taking it further and I'm turning it into impact font.
Whenever I try hand lettering, my natural instincts take over, and I always end up accidentally doing it in cursive.
Oh no!
I would love
I
to
have to
read a whole comic in cursive.
I have
it's
to,
hard.
Yeah, I have to digitally letter things, so I don't screw up. There was a live-action Fist of the North Star movie? What?
Oh my gosh. Discovering things.
In 1995, starring Gary Daniels. What the?
Cringe watch party sometime.
Okay.
I don't know. How would you get away with that on YouTube? I guess if we all watched it on our screens but didn't show it anywhere, that could work.
Yeah, drop everybody the link on somewhere else so they can watch it with us.
Did not know this was a thing, but it is. It's a thing. And ain't that something?
I've been quiet. I've been in quiet art mode for a while. How are people coming on their projects?
Well, I'm doing a very different project.
I take a peek at yours. Huh? What are you using for lettering?
Well, I just
The what program?
Oh, for lettering?
Yeah.
This is lettering was done in Paint Shop Pro, but this is the Krita I'm using to coloring right now. And it's just I've just extracted the white from a PNG and dropped a layer underneath it. I can color on the layer below and. Yeah, it's a very. Yeah, right now I'm done on my lettering so far. Paint Shop Pro version 8, which was designed for Windows 98, but I still make work. And I guess I'm cheap or something. But I just recently bought Studio, so I'm gonna try to learn that here in the next couple weeks.
Clip Studio Paint is a very good program.
I heard really, really good things about it.
I know Zach, your boy Zach used it for Jawbreakers.
And I use it for Holgrave when I need to letter or fill in color.
I'm still using Photoshop CS4.
You are smart. You're saving $30 a month.
Yeah. I have the whole master edition for that. I'm never upgrading as long as I can.
Smart.
I'm going to give him like a false mouth just because it's going to be the way the mask is wrinkling right where his mouth would be. Give like the illusion that there's a smile there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do this whole thing using the brush pen.
Oh, hey, Mike's in the chat. It's going good, Mike. Hey.
Is White Knight Mike?
Yeah, right night.
Nice. Is he doing a comic?
Nope.
You always wonder. There's more comics than I can possibly keep up with these days.
Yeah, tell me about it. I'm still trying to catch up on
Comic
it.
writer.
Don't whitewash me, Marmaduke. It's cultural appropriation to describe a non-comic book artist as a comic book artist.
Yes, it is. I'm going to go one step further.
What are books?
It's,
I was just going to say, what are books everyone's backed recently?
Soul Fighter and Earthworm Jim.
That's a good one.
I've pretty much got to limit myself to 2 a month, or I'm eating dog food. Although we just had Matt C on the matriarchy this week, and I thought that Kyrie was running through the end of the month, but it's only running until next week.
I know he sped it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
KDA looks really
Yeah.
good.
Anyway, so I was like, dude, are you going into man? Please tell me you're going into man. Don't let me down, man. He said, maybe we'll work something out unless your name's Reese. He said, no! Versus.
What I eventually like to do is, like Jordan D. Peterson, clean your room, organize your time. I want to get to the point where I can devote like a little time every weekend to just like doing like rapid reviews of. I really like to do every Indiegogo comic and just do like mini reviews of it. So there's something out there on YouTube for them to share around, and I can just like have a like a wide variety of projects. Do you guys know Larry King Undead?
Yes.
Yeah.
He kind of disappeared from YouTube for a while, I guess, but he had this series that of like 1 minute reviews, and I'm kind of in awe of that idea because I like end up like always talking for 10 minutes or 20 minutes about little details that interest me. So I don't know, or I might try to do like edited script things that will get reviews down to like really punchy, like to the point. I mean, I like talking at length about a comic because it's kind of fun. You kind of get to geek out about it, but I want to do maybe a best of both worlds where I'm also like getting to the point with some of my vids.
I think Larry King Undead. I think he's working on comics himself. He posts on Instagram a lot, not so much on DeviantArt anymore.
Oh, does he? And I should go give him a follow.
You have to. He prints them out and sends them to you himself, pretty much. I don't think he's doing the Indiegogo.
Yeah, you like PayPal him and he'll do it personally.
Wait, you can do that? You can do comics via PayPal?
Well, you just PayPal the money, he'll send it to you because he's already got it printed out.
Oh.
Jeremy Lott a couple weeks ago bought pretty much everything that we sell at a con from us through PayPal. We've got some paper stock from old projects and stuff still.
I might have to keep that in mind if I ever want to make a physical book.
Yeah, and there's other things you can do, like if you go through Kablam and you order a single print, like proof copy, you can set it up to where they do print on demand on Indie Planet. It's not the best quality paper; it's kind of stocky, like almost card, but it's okay. I've got a few copies myself. I put the chapters on print on demand after they're done. A lot of options out there.
All right, I'm taking a break from drawing because I want to check out what everybody's up to. Let's see, check out the chat. Punchy Sonichu says we can read the comics for ourselves. The tangents we can't get anywhere but from Arm. I'll have you know that during the French Revolution. Oh, Carl, there's two of you.
Well, that's weird. I switched back to my phone because it was fully charged again.
And it's also just your picture. It's not your drawing.
And it's because let me turn the camera on. Boom. Oh, whoops, wrong. Hair doxing time. Not that it matters since I've technically shown my face on the internet anyway.
Yeah. Matt, I'm going to present you to everyone because you're doing something pretty interesting now while everybody else is getting set up.
Okay.
Okay, does this have anything to do with Vox Populi, or is it a separate project?
This is well, it's in the same world. This is the first
Forces.
story from Force of Good and Evil. So, but yeah, I've been wanting to recolor this first story. We did it just in black and white. Pencil art is by a co-writer, Chris Lawton, and the inks are mine. So we co-wrote the dialogue. So yeah, it's not directly related at all, but these guys, Chad and Greg, both meet X at different points in their career. So whatever that's worth. Probably not much, but it is true.
Are you thinking about doing tie-ins for future Vox Populi, like little side stories and other like aspects of the universe?
Oh yeah, definitely. X has he guest starred in a very brief cameo, but I would guest star is probably not right. It was a cameo, the way to say it, in an issue of in one of the Forces stories called National Villainy, and so I mean, we're working on there's gonna be a story that'll show up at some point where X basically teams up with one of Greg's former fellow students named Demon Priest in a story called X and the Magic Kingdom.
Ooh.
That's Barry is working on. So I mean, yeah, there's lots of crossover is an intrinsic part of the Ideal Comics experience, I guess you'd say. I want plenty of time for the solo characters to shine in there, but at the same time, they do operate in the same universe, and these guys happen to be at about the same time. The story I'm working on right now takes place in the fall of 2004, actually. Whereas Vox Populi takes place in the summer of 2006. So at the time that this is going on, when Chad and Greg are first sent to Hero and Villain School, X is about to discover the conspiracy that gets him outlawed. So
Nice.
So there that's the deep lore for you.
Deepest lore.
I'm gonna peek in on Carl. Is that the Expositioner from a different angle? Carl, that you're drawing?
Oh, me? I'm just. Oh shoot! Sorry about that. My camera.
Okay, I got you. Ooh,
I'm inking a page right now.
cool beans. Oh, and you're using your what's it called? Light tape.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna draw some like Chinese armor, so I'm gonna go insane for a while.
What the hell was that?
Oh, the dogs. I'm sitting. They keep expecting that the people are coming back, just because the neighbor's driveway is like one of those like back-to-back driveways, and they slam their car doors really loud. I feel bad for the dogs. They can't tell the difference.
Yeah, well, that's dogs for you, I suppose.
Yeah.
Looks like I need me a new tripod because this thing
Flights
is
around.
whacking out, man.
You got to do what I do and just set your laptop on a desk and point it down.
That's what I get for getting a cheap tripod for phones.
Was it one of those like with the wire stands that you kind of like angle around?
Sort of. It's very adjustable. I have to admit, when it actually works, it's extremely convenient. Again, that's when it actually works. What is that?
Yeah, I hear kind of like an alien noise.
Meh.
Are the kids storming Area 51 early?
Man, that really is actually making my life. That's some funny stuff right there.
You're not a big fan of Area 51 memes?
No, dude, I'm serious. No, I think it's hilarious. It's sort of one of those, it's just it's embodied silliness of you.
I like
Or
it
would you
because
mean?
the memes have to treat it as if it's serious, but nobody is treating it serious. So there's kind of
Yeah.
like this metatextual layer of it.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Like all-star memes. Well, like a lot of meme culture, actually, when you think about it.
It's very metatextual.
I mean, if I had the opportunity to raid Area 51, I probably would.
Well, I mean, spoilers, but the next chapter of the comic is actually kind of that in a way.
Oh,
It's a
that's
different
awesome.
place in New Mexico, but it involves aliens, and I've had this planned for 6 years now, and I'm only probably just going to get to it soon, and it just happens to correlate with the time of all this Area 51 stuff.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Life imitates art, man.
What I love is 100%. There's going to be like 20 idiots who actually try to do it on the date, and the government's just getting prepped for that. Reading all
What
the
if
memes.
they're actually geniuses, like 4chan level?
Oh yeah, so their plan is to get the government freaked out enough that they move the aliens out of Area 51, and that creates a window of opportunity to get them while they're in transit.
It's the way to do it. Especially if you're not like a Goku level superpowered freak.
Yeah.
But what if you're a golden age Superman powered freak?
No, I think you probably still do it. No problem. No problem. I mean, they got good defenses, but they're not that good. They're like dealing with humans good.
Oh wow, it's 9:42. We've been going.
I'm almost done.
Nice.
Oh shoot, this doesn't exactly line up. Did I follow pencil guidelines properly? Huh. What do you guys think? Does that look too uneven? I know it's kind of hard to tell since you don't see the whole thing below the pencils.
Let's see. Okay, you mean like uneven from left to right?
Yeah.
Is it at an angle? Kind of like you were a little to the right of it?
Let's see if I can. The camera's in landscape mode right now, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't mean are we at an angle to it. I mean like is the character at an angle to the building? Like looking at it straight on or looking at it a
Like
little
the
bit?
camera.
Yeah, the camera is kind of at an angle.
Okay. Like the right side looks a bit longer than the left side, but I was attributing that to like them being closer to it in space.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. I'll keep going then. No need to throw the entire page away yet.
I don't think I've yet thrown away a single page working on my webcomic.
I don't
I'm enough of a perfectionist that sometimes I do throw away almost nearly completely inked pages if I'm not satisfied with them.
I try to do like surgical fixes. I'll try to like fix the panel, or that's why panels are important to me. Is it lets me come in and save the rest of it and get the bit I'm not liking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've started to do that more
Or
often.
I do half my work digitally anyway when I go in color and do the lettering and everything. So I'm like, well, if it's something I can fix and it doesn't look too unnatural to the inking with the black or white pens in Photoshop, or if it's something that coloring will just divert the eye anyway, I won't even bother fixing it. Okay, here we go. I have it finished.
You holding it up? Oh, I see that.
Yeah.
Winner. Oh wow, nice lettering. Don't do drugs.
I like it, man.
All right, I gotta hold up my smoking kills one now. Smoking kills.
Nice.
All right. Hopefully hopefully we see the government camp child's health campaign cropping up in the Expositioner's universe.
Yeah, well, I think we'll definitely see that at some point. I'm not going to make any promises as to when and where, but we'll definitely see that at some point.
Minor touch up? No, that's fine. Just gonna get rid of some of these stray pencil marks that didn't even get used. As this dog continues to lick my armpit.
Focus.
Yeah, I'm surprised I got this out with this dog doing this the whole time.
That's dedication to craft right there.
I
Or
applaud
do you
you.
have to suffer for your art?
I'm planning to let my pets die of old age and then not replace them. I've got a cat that showed up at my sister's place abandoned, and she was allergic, so I ended up taking care of that. And I have my nice old cat Cuddles. He's the one who sticks his butt into the video on a lot of my reviews, and he's just loyal, so he's gonna stick around until he plotzes. Then I won't have.
Let's see.
Yeah, I plan to do the same if I end up inheriting my parents' animals, because I don't know what's going on over there. But I love pets. I just like other people's pets.
Yeah.
It's also why I keep getting up. These aren't young dogs. They need to go out all the time. Don't want an accident.
All right. Is anyone going to need a little bit more time to get to a good stopping point?
I'm good.
All right. I kind of want to do a last. I want to find the cap to my pen without face revealing, and then I want to do kind of like a last without knocking the laptop over. This is a multi-step problem. All right. So I'm just gonna. I think I'll start, and I'll just show what I drew today. And I kind of want to maybe do like a quick review for everyone. So I'm going to present to everyone. All right. So smoking kills is my favorite thing I drew today. So I'll scan that and get that to Matt. I worked a little on like a fairy tale as like a warm up and a cool up today. So some Chinese armor. Oh, look, modern art. Showed this earlier, the Chinese fairy tale of the origin of the moon. That'll I'll work on digitally. Some like in-between doodles. Here we go. All right. 5-second exposition. I don't remember if that was 10 or 15 seconds. I think it was 15 seconds. 30 seconds is where I started to break down. 1 minute, I got his whole body, kind of got his shape. And 2 minutes. Yeah, kind of an interesting little quick sketch. And then I did a warm-up sketch at the beginning with like a bit more detail in it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I will get those scanned. Who wants to do show and tell next?
I I'll go.
Carl.
Started out warming up with this doodle page, which I showed you guys earlier. Then, when we started the Expositioner stuff, the first was the 2-minute one. That was this. I did the Chibi Expositioner.
Yeah.
And then let's see this one as well. Then ultimately, the 15 and 5-second ones. Truly sights to behold. Then afterwards, I just kind of filled the page with mindless doodles as I typically did. Did the Kenshiro Expositioner, probably one of my favorite things on this page.
Yeah.
Also drew this totally rad dude with sunglasses.
That's very, very cool.
Then afterwards, I started inking this. I've not gotten very far yet, but it is what it is.
Does it have a face?
No.
Okay. I thought I saw eyebrows or something. Is that going to be like a cannot unsee moment now?
Maybe it will be a cannot unsee moment. Let's see if I can just. I'll show you guys, all of you guys later when it's done.
Yeah, that's part of that's scanning. Like I like to just like get a quick little moment, but you always can look at the details a bit more when it gets scanned. Oh yeah, Evie's going to sleep. All right, the metal. Do you want to do show and tell?
Yeah. Here we go. I've got first things first is my whole winners don't do drugs one. Him like crushing a blunt in his hand, just spraying everywhere. Then I don't even remember what order these in. I think this was the 1 minute.
Yeah, I think so.
If I recall. Which I think the 1 minute came out better than the 2 minute one, surprisingly. This, I think, was the 30-second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was... I don't know. I don't know what order anything came out. I think this was the first one, the 2 minute.
Okay.
I think so.
I started formulating my strategy. Yeah. And then this was the last one.
That is so scary. I want to see that show up as graffiti in the Expositioner's world. It's almost...
That's certainly possible.
Well, I'll scan all of these for you.
Yeah.
Because it almost looks like quick graffiti.
I think
And then... there was this one.
Chibi one. All right. That's mixed into the mix somewhere.
Yeah, and that's it.
All right. Matt, do you want to do show and tell?
I actually deleted mine. So
Oh no! So the stream is the only record we have of these works.
it is. They were really bad though, and I went on to do
No, it's great. It's temporary art. It's a thing of its own.
Conceptual art. You're the ultimate postmodern master. I always get hyped. I hate the idea of deleting anything, like even my tiniest little doodle. I don't know. I guess I'm weird that way.
If it's in
I have
paper,
crates.
I'll hang on to it. In fact, actually, hang on a second. Let me see. No, it's not in there. I still have when we redid the X's mask. I was talking about that. I have the first sketch I did with that sitting in a folder, a binder, but it's not in my bag. I must have left it someplace.
That's good to have if you ever do like a behind the scenes thing, you know?
So.
All right. Well, we've been going for about 3 hours, I think. So the comic is The Expositioner. You can fund it on Indiegogo, link in the description. My guests were Matt, creator of The Expositioner, the metal webcomic artist, and Carl's the amateur artist, webcomic artist. Thank you all.
Before we go, I do want to say one quick
No
thing.
problem. Happy to come.
And Matt, you were saying?
Yeah, I want to say one quick thing before we go. First of all, I think it's super affordable. Second of all, we're running this at a $2,000 flexible goal. The way Indiegogo runs is that if you don't get to 500, you don't get to keep any money. It all gets returned. But one of the things we're talking about is if we do make it to 500, we could still afford to print and send those out. So
Okay.
we're on stretch goals until we get to 2,000, but we will be getting, if we get to 500 in the next 3 weeks, we will still be getting those books out to people. So
it's helping you get to that stretch goal gets the
yeah,
book.
if we get to 500, then everybody gets books.
Yeah.
And that's and be able to have. We won't have quite as much as we're hoping to. We will roll into issue 2, but we will be able to still pursue that. So that's the story there. The other thing is, if we don't get to 2,000, we don't get to leave the in-demand store open.
Okay.
But that's one of those things too, where we're just like we did. We're talking about running through PayPal to do those books. We'll find a way to get it to people if they really want it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. I will be. Is there a preferred hashtag for the Expositioner? Like just hashtag the Expositioner or hashtag?
I think we were using hashtag Expositioner.
Okay. Hashtag Expositioner. So when I scan mine, I'll use hashtag Expositioner to share it. All right.
Cool.
Thank you all. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Catch you later.
Bye.